Good morning, viewers. Good morning, guys. Good morning, everybody out there. Welcome to In the Lab podcast. I got a special guest with me here today. Darren Mueller is out of my class in MDK 009, a savage of a man. I don't want to give too much introduction. I'm going to let him do it himself, even though I said a lot. So you introduce yourself to the folks out there that want to get to know you better.
Hey, great introduction, man. Thank you so much. It's a true blessing to be here in the Cayman Islands. With a savage workout from Kendall and the Performance Lab group. Great group of individuals. So if you have a chance, I'm going to put a plug in right now. You need to get over here. You need to get a workout in. Trust me, you won't regret it. But a little bit about me. As Kendall mentioned, we went through the project together. That's where we built our bond. We stay connected often. There's not usually a day or a week that goes by that we're not connected in some way, shape, or form. So I'm new in the game of entrepreneurship. Been an executive for over 23 years in the manufacturing sector, and so trying to start a little bit of a new journey here and doing some business coaching. So we have the opportunity as entrepreneurs to connect and share some stories.
That's right. And I like to announce you as a high performer. That's of every second that I've known you, that's how you operate. So today it's going to be a blessing to have a man like you on board, that the viewers can take away a bunch of information and become high performers in their lives.
Beautiful.
But with that being said, first and foremost, I want to know, tell me how you got into pursuing your new entrepreneurship journey. What made you decide to say, hey, you know what? This is for me. I want to go after it. You had all those years as an executive.
Yep.
Let's go forward with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of many of the lessons that you learn with going through the project is from a business mindset and from Bedros Keuilian. If you haven't had the opportunity to listen to any of his podcasts or get connected, I highly recommend. But one of the lessons learned there is having alternate sources of income. That really struck a nerve with me because I said, wow, I'm down to a single source of income in my life. I have value that I can bring to others and serve others. As savage servants, we want to leave others better than what we found them. And so I started embarking upon this and reached out to one of our other instructors, Matt Schneider, owner of Ignition Year Coaching. And so we started this conversation. As unfortunate luck would have it, I had lost my job. So that single source of income went down to zero. So here I am having to support a family, and I don't have an income at all. Right. So I was late in the game. I let sort of that inner critic, if you will, over the years talk me out of entrepreneurship because I didn't know enough about it.
Okay.
And so as I started this journey, it really catapulted me. And so I had a life-changing event, and it catapulted me into this throw of wanting to give back and in entrepreneurship and coach and utilize all the skills I learned over 25 years.
Yeah.
And how do I give back to those who are really struggling in that journey as young leaders, managers, maybe young business owners that just don't have the access to resources as big companies and things like I had been accustomed to.
Yeah. Now, explain the process to me here, right? First, you said the inner critic stopped you from going into that entrepreneurship journey. Now, since you've been into it, explain to me, has that inner critic still jumped on you and said, darn, no, you need to leave this. You need to go back and do something safe and secure. Forget about this entrepreneur. Does that inner critic still jump after you?
I think those demons creep up quite often. But a testament to really stretching yourself and putting that inner critic, that inner bitch back in the back seat and hog tying them, right?
Yeah.
Is I think when you go through these kind of events, you're proven that you can do just about anything.
Yeah.
You and I went through an event together, and I tell people this often. It's to me that you can take, for instance, in our class, 13 men graduated. Never knew each other from anywhere.
Yeah.
And in 75 hours built a bond.
That's right.
That is just unbreakable.
That's right.
Right. So when you go through those events, you go through that I don't want to say traumatic experience. Maybe for some it was, I don't know, but it was a growth opportunity.
Yeah.
And so when you can put yourself through that kind of physical, emotional, and mental angst, right? It proves to you that you have more worth and more value to bring, and that nothing is impossible.
Yeah.
Nothing is impossible. So I remind myself of those 75 hours in the ocean, in the pit, in the classroom, all of those things that we learned. And I take those and I say, okay, this too shall pass, right? Nothing is impossible.
Yeah.
And it continues to make me thrive.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's trust me, there's opportunities all the time that arise that bring you back into that comfort zone, but you're not growing when you're comfort.
True that.
You know what?
Very true.
And so I think that's what's really important for young people getting into the game, or anybody for that matter, that comfort does kill. I mean, it breeds mediocrity. And when you surround yourself by a tribe of just highly performing people, you know that the way that you're going to grow, you always have somebody to lean on, because somebody's either already been there and done that, or they're going through it together, and you can, it kind of eases those
struggles and challenges. Yeah,
absolutely.
You're in the grit and you're in the mud together.
Absolutely.
And you made a great point there. And I like to look at it in this way, right? I say and I think you've heard this before, there's 6 men that you need in your life. 2 that you aspire to be like, 2 that are in the grit and the mud and the dirt with it, that you're running through those challenges with. Because the day's going to be exhausted, the day's going to be tired. But you and that person that's in the grit and the mud together can say, we got to rock and roll. We got to do this. Come on, brother, let's go. And there's also 2 that you inspire. And that's how we keep that ball rolling. So you're always working forward. You're working towards the next level, and you're working with the man next to you. And you got to stay accountable, because you got the man that's coming behind you, seeing what you're doing and 100%. Working forward. And kind of as you said it earlier, yes, the inner critic still pops up. Even in my life, the inner critic still pops up. The inner critic will always be there. That inner bitch, as we like to call it, will always be there. But we have a choice. Like as Darren said, we both went through the project. We get to remember those 75 hours, everything we went through mentally, physically, emotionally, and push through. And we can translate that into other areas of life where that inner critic is still saying, entrepreneurship may not be for you. We can silence that inner critic and say, hey, you need to sit in the back seat. Because it will happen in everyone's life, your life, my life. The person watching this, that inner critic may be there saying to you, no, that's not for you. Don't go after it. But put them in the backseat. Even better yet, put them in the trunk.
Yeah.
Put them in the trunk and put you in a beast riding up front with you 100%. To take that journey of life, right? Now, Dee, that brings me to the next question. I want you to describe to me what has been the highlight so far of your entrepreneurship journey. Since you've started out, what has really stood out to you? What has been like, this is why I'm in this. This has been my blessing so far. This has been my favorite part so far. More of these.
Look, I would say the first real big win is support a family, right? They have to come along with you in the journey. If you're on different paths, if you have different goals and you're not aligned, then that only makes it harder. So having the big win of having the support of my wife and my daughters, huge.
Yeah.
That's the first big win. Second big win is having a support system in fellow instructors that have extended trust in me to be brought on board, followed by getting that first client. Yeah. This is not easy. People think, hey, I'm just going to jump right in and everything's going to be there.
Yeah.
And it's not. And so as I go back and I tell you, when you have a traumatic event of losing your job, as an example, in my case, and you're not knowing when that next income is going to come in, you want things to happen overnight.
Yes.
And it doesn't happen overnight. So patience, diligence, and just that mindset and fortitude to keep driving forward, even though knowing that every call that you make or every conversation that you have may or may not turn into a sale. And so that first sale that occurred was huge.
Yeah. I can imagine that. Yeah. Especially being when you feel like your back is against the wall right now and you want things to happen right away, but as you said it earlier, you got to have the patience to allow it to happen. But at the same time, you got to stay consistent, committed to the cause and going after what you need to do. Because entrepreneurship is not an easy journey. As Aaron said earlier, it's not an easy journey. It's up and down, but until you have your feet planted in the ground and then really got it rock and rolling, and you're sticking with it and you're not letting that inner critic, that inner bitch talk you out of it, things will come together. As I always say, you put the work in, the results will come.
100%.
And you're a proven testimony of that. You put the work in and the results will come. That's why it's so amazing to be able to have you on this morning and get your entrepreneurship perspective on how this all looks. And especially for those that may be coming after you or know you, that look up to you, and be able to say, hey, I see Darren, I want to be able to hire him into my business.
Right.
I want to be able to get his coaching. I want to be able to learn from him. He's had so many years in the business, so many years of experience. Now I can hire him as a coach.
Yep.
So if you were to look at that, as you have your own coaching brand and company now, right? What does that look like? What does that look like? How would somebody find you and be able to say, you know what, this is the type of business that I have.
Yep.
I want to hire Darren. So what type of business are we looking at?
Mainly, for us, we love to work with, we work with anybody, right? But we really thrive on small entrepreneurs, small businesses. What you'll find a lot of times in big businesses, they move slow. There's a lot of red tape, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of unwillingness to change.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking for a coach, you're looking for change, you're looking to level up in some facet of your business. And that's what we provide. So we target those typically people with 7 to 8 figure incomes, right?
Yeah.
As a whole, as a business revenue. And then so you would reach out, you set up a consult, kind of explain what your pain points are, what you're going through, how long you've been going through it, what's keeping you up at night. Yeah. And then we provide, some insight into how we can help. And then it's up to you. You determine, am I a good fit? Are you, wanting to work with us as Ignition Year? And from there, we set you up with a 90-minute consult. Yeah. That is free to you. It's about $1,250 value. Yeah. And so what'll happen is we go through that initial insight. Yeah. And then you choose to sign up or not. If you sign up, then what we do is we work in 2-week sprints. Okay. You'll fill out a survey. You go through all of your pain points, all your woes, and then we're going to focus on those within this journey. Okay. Those 2-week sprints, the reason we work in 2-week sprints is we don't want to shock the system. Okay. A lot of times if you overwhelm the client, right, they're not going to know where to start. Yeah, it's just everything. So we're gonna focus in what I like to do personally is I like to focus in priorities of 3. It's very pinpointed. Yeah. It allows people to digest. And then once we alleviate those 3 priority pain points, then we move on to the next thing. Okay. So what you're doing there is, as we've learned, right, you start to stack small wins. Yeah. Small wins turn into big wins. And then overall, they see this huge transformation within their business. And so, yeah. And you're also you're helping them to identify resources, identify their tribe. It's going to help them and continue to catapult their business long after the coaching is moved on, right? So what we look for is at least a 3-month commitment, because that's when we start to see movement. Okay. On average, our clients will stay on for 7 to 10 months. Yeah. But at some point you want to kick them out of the nest, right? You want to let them continue to thrive on their own and then
get their wings and start to fly.
Exactly. And so from there, what we'll do is if they choose, they will stay on retainer. And that's up to them. Yeah. So they would keep us on retainer, and then they would, set up a call at their doing. It's not pre-scheduled or anything like that. They reach out, they get on my calendar. Yeah. And then, if they need to touch base on a particular topic and want to deep dive a little bit more, that's what we do.
And also then, I guess it's fair to say, and I think we had a bit of this conversation offline, that a lot of times when you are actually in the business, it's hard for you to see everything. You made a great statement earlier, and I would like you to repeat that so I don't got to use the words for you, but that was such an awesome statement. I want you to tell the viewers exactly what you said earlier.
So if some of you can relate, right? It's hard to see the forest through the trees. And as a business owner, when you're focused on all aspects of the business, it's hard to get really laser beam focused. And so what we try to do is go that inch wide and a mile deep on particular topics, so that we can really alleviate those. And with the experience that our team has, we're able to do that. Yeah. And we're able to recognize things and tell business owners those things that they need to hear that maybe they necessarily don't want to hear. True. But we wouldn't be doing people a service if we sugarcoated stuff. And that's the way in life too, right? If your friend's going and driving off a cliff, are you going to say something or not? right? Certainly you would say something. I expect you to call me out. If I'm not holding up my end of the bargain, if I'm not holding up my aspect of the creed, right, call me out, hold me accountable. And that's what that is. We're accountability coaches that really, really help people push beyond those barriers, those critics that they're having, that's preventing them from being more than what they just that mediocre getting by sort of thing.
Now tell me, with that being said, do you find that some of the folks that you've been around, some of the folks you get to work with, do you find that there is bad habits also that need to change? You help also change those habits, produce successful habits that are good habits that create success in their life?
What I found up to this point really is they have a really good foundation, but they don't know how to harness it. And so that's where maybe the bad habit, if you will, is you kind of you get into this. I just go through the routine. And just going through the routine is a bad habit. You've got to, there's good and bad to that, right? You got to have a routine, you got to have discipline, but that gets you to a point. But then how do you continue to grow? How do you continue to extend yourself and grow to make it better? And so those are a lot of the things that I'm witnessing so far. Is some people are they're just overwhelmed. And they don't know really where to harness all of this this newness. So a few of my clients, they're new to entrepreneurship as well. They want to create entrepreneurship with those within the business, so that they treat their business as their own. And so that's where we're working with people on it, right? Is how do you get those that work for you? You have a team. And this is your business. So how do you get them to think like you do?
Exactly. So that's where it comes into that inner shift and being able to shift the mindsets of those that work with you. That entrepreneurship, again, like you've just been over to both of my businesses. And that is something that I invest in big time, especially when someone starts working for me. We go right into that entrepreneurship. How can you grow the business from within? Of course, we all want people to work just as hard as us.
Right.
But a lot of times when the business is not theirs, they're not going to work as hard. That's the reality of entrepreneurship. But when you can create those entrepreneurs that are able to build the business and build themselves within the business, now they're like, okay, cool. I'm a part of this. I'm invested in this.
That's that force multiplier that we talked about, right? Is when you get 2 and 3 and 4 people thinking like you do in your business, man, the sky's the limit.
Exactly. I always say 5 high performers are better than 1 high performer.
Hell yeah.
Always. That force multiplier. If you got a bunch of guys or gals, whomever, in there and just thinking, they're thinking, hey, we're going to.
I don't give a shit, male, female, black, white, red, green. It doesn't matter, man. That has no bearing on high performing. If you're a high performing individual, look, I'll take anybody on my team that has that same mentality, that same just never quit, just going all in all the time. And you will move mountains. And it's an incredible feeling. It's an incredible feeling to be surrounded by those kind of people. Again, we kind of relate everything back to the project. We take it back. There's a reason why, we follow as this group grows. Everybody follows one another. There's I told you before, there's not a day that I'm not on social media at some point and I'm looking at what you're doing and what some of the other brothers are doing. I need to level up there. I need to do this more. Right. It has changed my life in such a way that I continue to push to be better. I got to be a better husband, better father, better leader. And if we talk about those 4 F-bombs, and if I'm failing in one of them, then I know exactly where to work. But that translating into those that haven't been through a certain experience like we've been through, we've got to make that relatable to
exactly. We got to create that leadership, that guidance, and that direction that we're able to build the community that is around us. And so for those of you that are watching, you got to build that community that is around you, that you are all high performers. It's just not you alone. Because if you are just the captain of the ship, you're the only high performer on there, what happens if you go off? Then the ship just sinks. right? But if you got a whole team, a community, a group of savage high performers that are just there, all thinking of like, we are going forward, we're running through walls, we're gonna dominate, we're gonna take over the world. Now you got a solid team.
Absolutely.
And that's who I want to work with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
A bunch of high performers, right? Because again, as you said earlier, when you have that community, the fire is lit and everybody is getting to grow off of that fire. And if there's somebody's fire is not as high, you're able to invest into that person and say, hey, you know what, you need to tighten up in this section or this area.
Call them out.
Yeah.
Call them out.
Hold them accountable, hold them accountable. That's the only way that we do get better.
Yep.
Only way we do get better is by growing, holding each other accountable, allowing to say, hey, you know what, Darren, I appreciate you calling me out. Let me know that I'm slacking in this area. Now I can work on it. And also we can work together and help each other grow. Right. So that's another huge part of it. And again, as we always speak about, when you have a group and a team and a tribe, you are going to get forward.
Absolutely.
You're going to get forward.
Absolutely.
So we always want to make sure that, if I can recap that, get a solid tribe, invest into them, create entrepreneurs.
Entrepreneurs, man. Huge. Yep.
A team of champions is where we want to get at. So now I want to shift into, is there any habits in your life that you invest in on a daily basis that allows you to be that high performer?
Yeah. The biggest one, and it's a daily challenge, right? It starts with fitness. It starts with being mentally and physically sound.
Mm-hmm.
When I went through the project, I thought, you know what, I'm doing well in my journey.
Yeah.
I was nowhere near it. I was nowhere near where I needed to be, and I'm still not. So those words, never peak, resonate with me every day. So for me, the daily habit is I'm up every morning between 4:30 and 4:50. I'm in the gym at 5. That is my time. That is me time, right? So that is my time to get physically and mentally prepared for the day. It allows me to sort of meditate while I'm in the gym, depending on what I'm working on, what I'm doing. So there's a million thoughts going through my mind at that time that I channel that energy into the physical aspect of myself. And then once I come home and I shower up, I'm ready to go to work. I'm ready to, whether it's, my routine of checking emails, setting my priorities for the day, stacking those small wins throughout the day, knowing what the long-term journey is, the long-term goals. And then as I go through that day, right, then setting aside time for the family. You hear a lot of people talk about work-life balance. You hear Steve Eckert talk about work-life balance is bullshit, right? And there's a lot of truth to that. A lot of people get offended by that. And what we're saying by that is there's no true balance. You need to be where you need to be.
Exactly.
And you need to recognize if you need to be at work and that's going to offset the family time, you need to make up for that on the back end. But people, again, they need to be clear on your goals and what the future holds. So that's where having a committed partner, whether you're married or not, you have somebody in your life that is reliant on you. They need to be aligned, and you need to share that goal and that journey.
True.
So that they can support you and be aligned. Of course, open communication is key in those aspects.
And speaking of Steve and literally what you just said of having that supportive partner, Steve creates a good statement. He says, you both got to be speaking English. If one is speaking Japanese and one is speaking English, then you're floating apart. You're going in the opposite directions. You and your partner got to be speaking the same language. All right, cool. We invested in this growth together. I see the vision, you see the vision. Let's rock and roll together. So having that support system is going to be a big factor. Definitely want to have a supportive family also. So you're driving together. Life is a journey. You're in a car. I'm driving. That's my passenger. It's in the back seat. We all roll into this journey of life together. Having that support.
It's huge. I mean, look, I was fortunate to attend last week, actually, a couples mastermind put on by Matt and the Ignition Year team. And I'm telling you, listening to those entrepreneurs, listening to those couples, it was key and crystal clear that alignment, if it's not there, it's detrimental to the relationship, right?
And
so that's where Matt and his team are really focused on on really getting laser focused
Mhm.
on bringing those couples together, creating a community of like-minded couples
Suppose, yeah.
that help them thrive in those businesses,
Yeah.
whatever that business may be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's if you haven't seen it, you need to go check it out.
Yeah.
At Ignition Year, but 100%, man,
Mhm.
it was a phenomenal realizing that that's where mastermind, full of knowledge. I mean,
Mhm.
just looking at the room and the speakers and how to thrive businesses forward.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
It looked amazing. I got to see some of the highlights and stuff from it, but I want to hear from you. Tell me what are some of the stuff that you guys did at that mastermind,
Well,
that couples mastermind?
yeah, I would say that, look, the first challenge, if you will, is putting couples in a raft and going down the river. So if that's no better way to build trust and to find out whether or not you're aligned as a couple, right? Get them in a boat and start rowing down a 60-degree cold water river with rapids. Everything was planned methodically, right? So we did that. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
People who were very fearful, my wife included, she was terrified of it.
Yeah.
After the fact, she said, okay, maybe not my thing, but I understand, right? I get it. And it was neat to see the interaction between everybody. Going into that second day, it was literally a room full of just knowledge bombs dropped. Great speakers, a great cast of speakers. We had everything from tax advisors, the things that people don't think about when they go into their businesses, to women in leadership like Lindy Schwartz and some of these other big names that you might have seen, bringing the couples on board. You know, you got high, powerful women in these that most men get fearful of, to see their supportive husbands talk about their journey along to support their spouse in leveling up. And of course, Matt and Kristen sharing their stories of his journey into entrepreneurship and the support that they have for one another, and why this was so important. Why it was so important to be on the same page, why it was so important to be aligned together, and how you can take marriage, in their case, I want to say 19 years, you know, through the ups and downs. You don't get there unless you're aligned. Yeah,
very, very true. Very true. Yeah, because exactly, if you're speaking Russian, you speak in English, you're going two different directions.
100%.
You got to be in alignment. I like to call out a team of champions. We're a team of champions.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're driving forward together.
Yep.
Again, life's journey, you got to go forward together. So it sounds then alignment in your relationship or your marriage, whatever it is going to be a key factor.
Has to be.
Has to be a key factor.
Has to be. Yeah, I've seen too many relationships when you start diving into the reason why people split, they just were not aligned on their goals. One wanted to reach the stars, the other one was fine with just getting day by day. And so, you know, those couples, they feel like they're being held back. They get resentment. And it's tough. Again, we learned coming back from the project, we're going to get frustrated. We're going to get frustrated because we're operating at a different level. And it's 100% true. When your mind is on, you know, you're going 100 miles an hour and you see mediocrity at every level. You know, it's frustrating.
For sure.
It is so frustrating. And you see why, you ask the question, why do people accept this? I don't know. I don't subscribe to that. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's not in my DNA. It's not in my nature. So
100% agree with that. And Pedro said a great thing during the project. He said, it's our obligatory duty, it's Pedro Serrata that said, it's our obligatory duty to bring up the man next to us. Because B that actually said it. Yes, I remember. We were in pit at the time. Said it. It's your obligatory duty to bring up the man next to you. But when that man starts to mess with the mission, gotta be cut.
Gotta cut bait.
Yeah. So when we see the mediocrity that's out there, yes, of course you're gonna get frustrated because, again, as you said earlier, you don't subscribe to it. That's not the way to live life. We are high performers. We want to be performing at peak level all the time. So even if we want to revert this back to entrepreneurship, it's our obligatory duty as the entrepreneur, as a leader, bring up the man next to us. It's our obligatory duty. But if they are messing with the mission, then you got to cut them. And that's just the way that it has to work in life, because you have a big vision that we need to go after, and that's the journey. I see it. This is what I'm going for. I need a team that's all in alignment, and that's what it is.
It starts young too, right? I'm looking at your book here, and it reminds me, the Squire program. It starts with young youth. I mean,
Right.
they learn from a very early age how do they want to be, whether it's a man or a woman, but particularly, talking about men having a solid role model, knowing what it means to be a provider, knowing what it means to be a gentleman, knowing what it means. If that's what I love about, again, this tribe that we're surrounded about is they recognize that.
Yes.
And they see that how many young men in this world just do not have that positive leadership and role model to help them, so that when they look around, we all did dumb shit growing up,
100%.
right? But how do you avoid breaking the law? How do you avoid getting into drugs and alcohol? How do you avoid domestic violence? All the just negativity that is posted every day on the media. I mean, I'll be honest with you, since 2020, I don't watch the news. I don't.
I agree with you. Same here.
There's so much negativity and so much misinformation that's out there. But the sad thing is that there's studies that have been done where our youth, 90% of their media, their information is coming from TikTok, Facebook, and so
such a true story.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So
now, just to back on that point there real quick. Now, there is good information that you can get from YouTube. You can learn stuff from there, but the majority of stuff that's being flung at you when you're on TikTok, you're doing this, even the news, negative. It is all negative. And again, yes, the youth are our future, right? And especially the young boys. That's why, Squire program is doing such an amazing job, because yes, having the youth and having them have guidance and being able to look up to guys like yourself, guys like me, the instructors, Bedros, all of these guys, the entire Squire program is something that is super beneficial. Super beneficial. I even think about my life. I wish I had that when I was a youth. You know what I mean? But hey, I didn't. So you know what we do is, hey, we get the opportunity now to invest in the future, invest in those that know you in your town, invest people that know me here. Also, when I get the opportunity, and you've cadred Squire before?
Not yet. Squire. It's on my list.
It's on your list.
It's on my list.
And same here. I want the opportunity to also cadre at the Squire and be able to give back and help the youth there and the youth worldwide, because yes, the youth are our future.
100%.
Right? And when we can provide them with good leadership, good role modelship, hey, then we are creating some strong men going forward, right?
100%.
There's a page on this Squire book, How to Be a Man. It's so awesome. Every time I have a young youth walk in here, I got some interns and stuff that are, 17, 18 years old. I always make them walk in and I have them read this page, How to Be a Man. It's like 1, 2, 3. It's about 12 different points or 14 different points on being a man. And when we get the opportunity to learn these things from a young age, we get to go forward with it. Me, again, I didn't really get a ton of knowledge until I went to the project. And that was a huge turning point in my life. And really changed a lot of perspective. So you can imagine if we get the opportunity to learn things from the time we're young. That's going to create such good leadership for us. So with that being said, do you have any lessons that you would give to young men and tell them from your perspective as a high performer, your perspective as an entrepreneur? What would be your lessons to young men?
Choose your role models wisely. Role models are not, no offense, necessarily your professional athletes. Look in some of those other deep dark corners for those role models. I will tell you, for me in my life, most of my role models came from the military. I looked at the sacrifice that men and women made for our country, and those were my heroes. They were willing to give up everything and pay the ultimate sacrifice to make our country a better country. And so for that, that's why I try to do as much as possible. It was a calling for me. My life took me in a different direction. Not a bad direction. I met my lovely bride.
There you go.
And I didn't want to give that up, right? So I made a conscious decision and choice to do something different that worked well for me. But in return, I do all I can to give back and to support those who served and paid, in some cases, the ultimate sacrifice, right? But that for me was my role model. I never found this. I was never starstruck with that amazing quarterback or the movie star or anything like that. People that can memorize lines don't impress me. So I've just never been enthralled by that. But those who are willing to roll up their sleeves, my father was that way. He just, nobody would ever know him in life, but his small group of acquaintances. But he was a hardworking man. He got up every day. Never had an alarm clock. Woke up at 4 o'clock every morning. He was the first one into work every day. Worked long hours, very little pay. I mean, my brothers and I, we talk about this often, that we grew up poor, but we didn't know we were poor. Financially poor is what I meant. We weren't poor in any other aspect. We had parents that were married for over 45 years.
Nice.
We had a strong support at home. One or both of them were always at our sporting events. Beautiful. They sacrificed a lot of their personal time for their kids, and so for that is what emulated a good father for me. But my father was tough. Don't make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. I was 30 years old before I ever heard him say he loved me. So there was a question mark there for a while. I mean, I think it took till but I never doubted. I never doubted. He was at every ball practice that I ever had. He was at every game that I ever had. To the point where my friends growing up would say, Mueller, your dad's here again. Man, he rides your ass, right? But his intent was to make me a better person.
100%. I could say that same thing with my father also, right? What difference is I call my grandfather father. My biological father passed before I was born. So I grew up with my grandfather, and same thing. He was always on me. He was always on me, always wanted me to do better. I got pictures of myself in Pampers, and he has me at work pulling the boats and everything. And I always say that it's the hardest working man I ever met in my life, but it taught me the lesson of hard work. It taught me what it means to go forward. He used to say to me, anything you want in life, you go and do it, you go and get it. You try until you succeed. You make it happen. You go after it. You go do it. So the lessons that we get to take away, again, from those role models, who they may be in our lives, it's going to be big time. It's going to be beneficial.
100%. And
that even takes me forward. You mentioned the military. My boxing coach was a former U.S. Marine. And after my father passed away and everything, I was into boxing. And that coach became like a father in my life. The structure, the discipline, the strictness, man. Norman Wilson is a savage of a man. I had no playtime. It was on point. It was regimented. But that was such an amazing thing for me to look forward to. And I took him like my father. Right. And that benefited my life. Again, that's why I also feel like I relate so well with Steve, because Steve is, he would run to a war right now. He's regimented, he's strict, he's disciplined.
Discipline is hell.
And
absolutely.
He lives in my head rent free. That's what allows me to, on a daily basis, I take no weakness, man. I take no prisoners. I'm walking forward.
Look, there's no better word to describe Steve than freak.
Freak,
He's a freak in nature. He's all in. He's all in, and I love that about him, right? I love that about, again, all of those guys. Ray, same thing. Just he drops some major knowledge. Here's a man that, again, when you look at role models, here's another man that really needs no introduction, right? But I'm going to give a shout out to Ray. I look at him, and here's a man that lost his father at a young age, going down the wrong path, chose to do one of the hardest, most specialized ops teams in our U.S. military. Never quit, right? Never quit mentality. But taking all those traumatic experiences and funneling them into
the success,
the young youth, right? To try to break the cycle is freaking phenomenal.
Yeah,
right?
amazing,
So
amazing guy.
that for me is that's where I get inspiration. And again, I mean, there's not one person from an instructor standpoint that we didn't meet that has something to really be proud of and emulate, because they've seen a lot of what we're talking about today, of just people needing to have somebody in their life to help break that cycle, just that direction.
Yes.
And then once you get set on that path and that direction, man, that force multiplier that then is enacted is unreal.
Yeah. Keep great people around your life. That is really the sum up of that. Find amazing role models, find savages around your life, or even better words, find savage servants.
Yes.
Find savage servants and allow your life to progress, allow your life to grow by being around them and learning from them and taking from them. Again, all of our instructors that we went through the project with, they've had such an impact on our lives and allowed us to grow.
100%. Yeah. And I was just thinking, one of the things I don't think people do enough of is it's scary, right? And that is, get rid of the toxic people in your life, even if it's family. And everybody thinks that you have to keep family close. I'm telling you, there's so much liberation in that. Was one of the lessons that we learned, and I've been practicing it because I just had this thought or this nature about me that, hey, I got to keep people in my life and just kind of deal with things. No. Once you can rid those toxic individuals out of your life, it's liberating. The needle moves, tenfold.
So know who's in your tribe and make sure they are pouring into the tribe.
Yeah.
Make sure they're pouring in. And that is pouring in positivity, not negativity.
Correct.
Get those toxic ones out of there. There's no need for them. Your mindset needs to be flourishing. Your garden needs to be protected. And if it's not protected, whomever is just trampling on your garden. So we got to get rid of the negative, right? Positive mindsets, successful habits, good habits that are going to lead to success. Make sure, as Darren said, you're keeping up with your fitness. That's the gateway. Make sure you're putting nutrition into your body that is good. Don't just do all these great things in your body, go end up at Burger King and McDonald's, just fucking the whole program up, right? So 100%. Make sure you collectively on a whole, or allowing yourself to be a high performer. Your habits, your mindset, your fitness, your nutrition, focus on the 4 F bombs, your family, your fitness, your finances, everything, man. Make sure you focusing on it all. Adia, I have a question for you. One last one before we shift off here.
Sure.
If you could recommend a book, people, the viewers out there, what book would it be?
It's actually a book I'm reading now. It was recommended to me. It's called Outwitting the Devil.
Yes.
I will tell you that every aspect, I'm when I say I just started this book, I'm literally 50 pages into this book, and it describes me to a T. And we talk about the inner critic. It is all about that other self, that inner critic, that when you can figure out how to turn that off, how liberating and the mountains that you can move in yourself. But Napoleon Hill, I believe, is the author. So I highly recommend that.
Yeah. Awesome. Beautiful. I love that book myself. So yes, 100% correct. Yeah. Go and get that book. Another book. And I want to give B a shout out also. If you have not read Man Up by Bedros Keuilian, be sure to go and get that book also. That's another one that is also on my book list that I do have. I have No More Mr. Nice Guy, which I have right here also. Those are 3 of my favorite books, actually.
Excellent.
Right? Excellent. And lastly, before we shift, where can everyone find you, or how can they get in contact with you? How can they reach out to you and be able to chat with you, get some information or get some coaching from you?
Yeah. So go to the ignitionyearcoaching.com. You will see there's a whole team there, Matt Schneider, and who has generously brought me on as a business coach. You can go there and you can set up a consult with myself. You can go to my Calendly invite, set up that time, and then we'll connect and how we can alleviate your pain points.
All right. Awesome. Okay, my brother. Thank you very much, my brother.
Appreciate it.
Folks, we got on a high performer this morning, and it was a pleasure having Darren on. Now you guys get the opportunity to learn from him directly. You know how to reach out to him. You know how to get in contact with him, get more value, get more information, and push your glass ceiling higher in your life. Thank you for tuning in to In the Lab podcast. Peace and love.